Hello and welcome, class. Right, well, we're all preparing to head off at the end of this year into our respective fields, or perhaps simply another year of study. So I think it's important that we equip ourselves with some of the tools in the talk today, which is communication problems and global strategies in the sciences. Not sure why I have two of myself, but we'll continue with that. Right, and a brief overview of the communication problems we'll be exploring and explaining today. In this talk, I will elucidate these terms for you with varying detail and implications of each, and then towards the conclusion, outline strategies for improving our performance as scientists and our satisfaction with respect to each concern. And you'll hopefully see how these are more than superficially relevant to each of us throughout and across our disciplines. So our first overview is of semantic barriers, as we are calling it. The interplay of self, other institutions, and relational and group clusters in which we find ourselves discursively constructed as individuals and also as institutions. And this takes us to what I've called the summit of scientific inquiry, collaboration, and communication in particular for today. Gillespie delivers a methodology for the discursive analysis of the transmission of ideas, particularly those which disrupt the order of our time and permeate unequally through social strata and our diversely contextual selves. And I've selected this article for the relevance of its methodology to elucidating the market of science, which is one of ideas, and those ideas sometimes becoming quite revolutionary in their impact. In Gillespie's conception, with Le Bon, semantic barriers, also referred to as boundaries, are posited as being between opposing voices, perspectives, and views set up in hierarchically arranged tiers of meaning making and producing meaning within or oppositional to an existing protected order. These tiers are environmentally and psychologically established and fed by the machines of our emotion and our social interaction as a species. So this being quite a universal, zoomed-out view, we are looking at the edifices, the apparatuses or apparati of meaning and semantics, and how these ossify and become, as we say, established inside institutions and organizations, and also as well as outside in the self and institutionally created outside revolutionary groups. The former standing for the established and the ordered, and the outside standing for that which threatens, or at least supposedly threatens, this as the new threatens this ordered and established and understood. And I argue or recommend that we use this analogy of Gillespie's for understanding our diverse semantic barriers and boundaries, and first of all between scientific authority, so to speak, and the public, as well as between scientists themselves. And this picture should instill in us a skepticism globally about the current limits of science communication as it is imposed, or I suppose it would be better to say controlled or conducted by governments and their policies and technologies. Bringing us to an overview of self-disclosure. Beck et al. Framed self-disclosure on a larger base of collaboration in groups and teams of scientists, making a connection from self-disclosure as openness, an assumption about knowledge production and transparency and inclusivity at an organizational level, and connecting the self-disclosure required to facilitate solutions to the complex work of scientists, and drawing a connection, from that to the evolving context of science and innovation, being disrupted by the global period of social and technical change and new orientation within our scientific disciplines and their overlap. And then finally, our overview of productive conflict, as I'm calling it here today, in which we will look at Latriciano et al.'s picture of conflict in scientific teamwork as arising in the tension between individual knowledge or expertise and how that clashes and vies with a scientific team's agenda. And Latriciano et al. Emphasize the necessity of the individual and their knowledge and their expertise merging with the reflexivity of the group. And this is important because as scientists, the demands and complexities of the problems we try to solve together of course affect the planet and in many ways beyond our control on the global level. And so a vision, as I see it, of connection from the individual's expertise, the individual's knowledge, to the group as a knowledge-producing team, this KPT, is essential in that it embraces the motivations of the individual and prepares the team to function as such. Moving on now to our strategies. So much has been made in a previous slide about the composition of these semantic barriers and the motivations that we individually contribute to them in terms of the pecuniary, finance, the cultural, the unconscious, the strategic. It's all systemic is what is obvious. And what is also obvious is that because we all contribute to it, it demands change from all parties at play, so that the enterprise of science can overcome itself and evolve beyond its limitations within these semantic barriers and beyond. A comprehensive and systematic review in this article, it makes things quite clear for us. Human beings, we come with ideologies, circumstances, philosophies ahead of the projects into which we promote ourselves. However, where I begin to go ahead of and stray ahead of the contents, the implications of this article, is in thinking beyond merely improving organizations and policies and setting clearer goals, seeing that as insufficient to overcome the inherent human barrier itself, as evidenced not just in the semantic but in the whole organizational structure of our project as scientists. Which leads us nicely to strategies for disclosing self as individuals and within our group, within the cooperation of groups. So just as with our semantic problem, the problem of disclosure is systemic for individuals and institutions. Beck et al., in promoting their Open Innovation OIS framework, they emphasize some quite noble aims for shared and open infrastructure, research, publication, interdisciplinary collaboration. But these, as I've outlined or highlighted in the previous slides, as I see it, are not going far enough to counter the problem, the menace of international problems of distrust and this human semantic knowledge organizational barrier which can halt scientific progress everywhere if not addressed. So I recommend, in conjunction with my appraisal of the whole structure of our semantic barriers in the previous slides, that even while maintaining our synergy of cross-disciplinary and institutional practices and openness generally in sciences, it won't be enough to overcome these governmental policies and international feelings of ill will, which come to be at the expense of our progress and rationality as scientists. No matter what our intentions might be, the global moment does constrain us in these ways. Therefore, I argue that boundary-breaking applications of AI and contemporaneous emerging technologies such as this should be expanded to synergize the whole scientific world and spearhead its growth, its evolution ahead of our more conservative governments. That is an independent spearheading where the primary interests, unlike those in global conflict, that do put science and the planet as a priority. Which conclusion lends itself to our final talk of strategies for initiating a productive conflict in order to overcome all of these issues and characteristics of the time that we are in, using the context of the previous communication issues within their macro global application. We can see how it all relates to the motivations for the conflict within teams of scientists, productive or not, and it leads us out with a single question: what do the structural imbalances and strongholds, harkening back to the talk of semantic barriers and order, what do these spell for a globalized system of doing and trying to reproduce and indeed develop science? So recognizing the global in the knowledge production system and remembering teams of scientists as knowledge producing and meaning producing indeed teams, and the scientists in the global, it's time to reckon with the trajectory of a convulsive planet, which indeed it is in our time, if not always, and the meta-organizational implications of this beyond mere data, but for the scientific community globally. So I would want to say in a bold and not an unambiguous conclusion that allowances must be made for scientists if we are to advance and evolve independently of this governmental interference and national perhaps pressure to view the lab and the results of our experimentation and indeed the visions of discovery and growth that guide us. Allowances must be made if we're to push back on seeing all of this as anything other than our collective project of progress, not just as a species or any other kind of political identity, but as scientists in particular, independent of other frameworks. Thank you so much. I wish you all luck in your future endeavors, your work, and your future years of study. Thank you.